praise team. Beautiful worship. Before we get into our text this morning, we'll be looking at Philippians chapter 4, verses 8 through 9. The final exhortation. The Apostle Paul to the Philippian believers. Before we get into our text, I want to give a few admin notes. On your bulletin, at the top there, next to a final exhortation, please put part 1. Part 1. Just to give you a little insight to how I do sermons, every week being an expositor, and I know where I'm going to preach. I know the next text I'm going to preach. And so I began reading that text, and I began journaling my ideas, my thoughts, the way that I see God flowing. I began cross-referencing the passages, pulling out biblical motifs and theology, and start formulating kind of the direction I see the text going and how it ought to be taught. Then I began looking at some commentaries and furthering my understanding of the text. And so then I put together an outline based upon those things, and I think, okay, this is going to be my sermon outline. This will be the Christmas tree, and then when I write my sermon, I'll just hang the ornaments on it. And so I send the outline to Deborah, who does the bulletin for it. Does an amazing job. And so I send her that outline. Well, then about a day or two later, I actually write my sermon. And sometimes, and most of the time, it goes perfectly. It fits in the outline. Everything flows together nice. It works together well. But every now and then, the bullet points on the outlines actually become sermons themselves. And so today, on the back, we are only going to be looking at the first point. The second point, you can either scratch it out or just write, he'll get to it next week. But we're going to be looking at verse 8 tonight. We're going to read the full exhortation of Paul, verses 8 and 9. But we will be primarily and fully focusing only upon verse 8 today. This is the final exhortation of Paul, part 1. So let us look at verses 8 and 9, the final exhortation that Paul gives to the Philippian church. Paul writes, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. What you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you." Let us pray. Oh, Father God, who inspired the Apostle Paul to write these words just under 2,000 years ago, God, we ask you to be here with us this morning. That you would open our hearts to this text, that you would open our hearts to this word. That we would take this imperative, these exhortations to heart, and that it would drive us to Christian action. God, let us see the power this morning in this exhortation. Let our hearts be open. Let our spirits be sanctified as we study this great text. God, conform our minds, transform them, renew them to your word. And God, draw all those who are separated from you, draw them to yourself. Fulfill your promise. Your word would not return void. Remove me from any hindrance that I might be from the word, that it might go forth with clarity and knowledge. Say all of these things in the precious name of Jesus Christ. Most of us in this room have experienced the powerful awe and anticipation that can come with certain music. And the specific music that I have in mind is classical music. Now, I know you're thinking, what does some anything about classical music. Well, I actually like classical music. What I listen to in my studies, what I listen to when I write my sermons, and there are very few things that can quite stir the heart like a powerful symphony can. As the symphonies often begin coming to a close, any composer worth his salt will not let that symphony go out without a band. Who knows that? They move, you feel the music rising and growing, and it ends with a powerful climax. Think of some great symphonies in my mind that have this kind of building, growing reality until it pours out into this powerful climax. One being Tchaikovsky's, the first movement of Tchaikovsky's Sixth Symphony, or Bruckner's Eighth Symphony, Beethoven's Sixth Symphony. These powerful symphonies. And there's something spine-tingling about them as the music builds with powerful crescendo, the string sections coming in, followed by the woodwinds building up, the percussions beginning to pound, and the brass instruments roaring, everything going full tilt at triple forte, the music building and building, the composer moving his arms and head as if he's a madman. And the music is brought to its mighty climax, and everyone is nearly drawn out of their seat at the beauty of the moment. Well, this is very much what the fourth chapter of Paul's epistle to the Philippians is. It is this kind of building crescendo which pours into a final climax. Throughout the whole letter, theology and biblical motifs have been woven together throughout this whole letter. And it all builds and rises to chapter 4 to this moment of Christian duties and Christian responsibilities. In verse 1 through 3, the Christian is called to be steadfast, harmonious, and united with their brothers and sisters. And this is the string section beginning to come in. In verse 4, the believer is called to the delightful duty of joy. And this is the woodwinds beginning to fill in with the strings. In verse 5 through 7, the believer is called to being gentle, to living with unshakable hope, to be prayerful and thankful in order to know the peace of God. And this is the pounding percussion. And then with the blazing brass, Paul brings his exhortation to its final climax in these verses that we will be looking at in the next 2 weeks. This verse, these imperatives, these final two imperatives in verses 8 and 9 are the final major imperatives to Paul's epistle to the Philippians. Verses 10 through 23 are basically Paul giving a postscript, revealing God's provision to him throughout his mission, whether it be from God's direct provision or God's provision through the means of his brothers and sisters. He then closes the letter, like he does with most of his epistles, with a benediction and a blessing upon the church. Therefore, the passage that we look at today serves as the final, this is how you ought to live, imperative given to the Philippian church. There are two major imperatives found in these two verses. In verse 8, it is the imperative to think on these things. And in verse 9, it is the imperative to practice these things. Within these two imperatives exists the summation of the Christian life. How is a Christian to think? How is a Christian to live? And that is simply summed up to this. As Christians, we are called to think right thoughts and to perform right deeds. And when you are studying your scriptures and you come across a passage that exhorts the Christian mind one way, and then follows that with a section on Christian deeds, you are seeing one of the most fundamental principles of the Christian life. What is that principle? The principle is this, that right thinking is the mother to right living. And right living is the necessary and inevitable child of right thinking. Beloved, thoughts are the weaving loom in the wonderful machinery of the soul. They run day and night, weaving the garments which the soul wears. And if you will take care of your thoughts, they will mold and shape your character both rightly and constantly. So what we are looking at today and next week is not just some abstract precept. We are dealing with the two precepts that form the final and overarching exhortation of the apostle to the church at Philippi. And this is indicated in the opening of the verses. Finally, brothers, it reads. In other words, as for the rest. In other words, in order to accomplish all that I have said prior to this, do these things. So let us look today at the first of these exhortations. And we see a summons to godly thinking. A summons to godly thinking. In verse 8, Paul writes, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. The key word in this entire verse is the word that translates think about these things. The word here is a Greek word that is a little bit rare in this usage because this Greek word does not refer to simply cognitive thinking. It is not merely abstract thought. The Greek word is logizomai, and it's a word that is rarely used, but a better translation of this word to fully grasp what it means, it's an older word, a word that we don't use very much, is the word to reckon. To reckon. It's the word that Paul uses in Romans 6 with the believers coming to grips with the implications of their union with Christ. They are to reckon upon what Christ has done for them and what it now means to belong to Christ. And what to reckon means is this, that as we reckon upon something, that as we reflect intensely upon something, those truths are to bring about a transformation in how we live. So it is not merely thinking for the basis of simply thinking. It is thinking on the basis of transforming our lives and actions. It is thoughts that bring our whole life, our whole way of living, into conformity to that which we are thinking upon. It's a deep reflection that will drive the will to action. Now, Paul utilizes a present imperative with the Greek that he uses here. And what that means is this. This thinking is not something that the Philippians should do sporadically. It is not something that should be done in the future. It is not something that should be done just at times to reflect on the past. No, the present tense of the word recognizes that this means that this is something to be done continually. That the Philippians are to continually think upon these things. Constantly reflect upon these things, to consider these spiritual habit in our lives. A habit is formed when you do something over and over and over again. I think there was a scientific experiment done one time to say how many specific times something has to be done in order to make it a habit. I don't know the number, don't really care. Because this is not a matter of thinking upon these things 70 times 7, as Jesus said when it came to forgiving. It's not about the number. It's about the continual practice of something to where it becomes so natural to your being that you can't help but to do and think upon these things. It is to be a full aspect. Thinking upon these things, Paul says, is to be a spiritual habit of our life. Now, in this text, Paul gives us 8 objects that is to summon, that our thinking is to be based upon, our thinking is to be centered upon. And in these 8 objects, 6 of them are specific. They are specific, direct, explicit things that we are to think upon. And the final 2 are general, they're generic statements. They're an all-encompassing kind of object. So let's look closer at some of these objects. The first object that the Christian is called to think on is whatever is true. Think about whatever is true. We are called as Christians to constantly think upon that which is true and truthful. Now, this can point to God's truth. What is God's truth? Thy word is truth. Sanctify us in your truth. And there would be nothing wrong with that understanding. For God alone is the final arbiter to that which is truth. God's word, God's truth, is the means by which all reality is held up against. All true reality is God's reality. And anything apart from the reality as defined and revealed by God is a falsity, a perversion, and a counterfeit truth. But in this context, it is more likely that the Apostle Paul, through the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, is not necessarily referring to God's truth in the sense of the Word, but is simply referring to that which refers to our speaking and living in accordance to truth. Ephesians 4:15, Paul writes, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow in every way into the head, which is Christ. It is the opposite of to lie. And so the apostle is saying in this final exhortation that godly thinking is that which constantly reckons upon that which is true. That they are to reckon upon truth in such a way that their speech and their lives will be totally absent of falsehood. And this is important. Because when we think about this, how do we think upon that which is true? How do we formulate our minds in a way that we are thinking in a true manner? Well, I'll give you one example briefly. Oftentimes, when we are thinking in light of falsehood, what we are doing is we are scheming. When we think in a way that is scheming, we are scheming to find out what can we say or what can we do to either win someone over with this or to get away with it without any repercussions coming our way. We start thinking of ways to deceive, ways to kind of speak around or beat around the bush and never let our yeses be yeses and our noes be noes. It's what we would divorce over to a political correct mentality. But it's far worse than even that. It's not about so much hurting someone's feelings. It's about saying things and thinking about things without actually ever saying anything at all. And that's the problem with much of the speech that lives in the world today. We've learned how to say say a whole lot, to waste a whole lot of hot air without actually saying anything at all. And the reason we've been able to do that is because our mindset is not set in a way that we think upon that which is true, but we think about that which will save our skin. And so we allow truth to be divorced from reality by simply thinking upon things in a way that is filled with falsehood, roundabout things that never actually get to the matter. We are to think upon that which is true, and to let our yeses be yes, and our noes be no. Secondly, Paul says we are called to think on whatever is honorable. Whatever is honorable. This is by far, of the most of these lists of virtues that Paul gives us, this is by far the most difficult to try and describe and translate. And the old King James language, the word would have been translated grave. We saw of the old man in the old King James in the pastoral epistles, the older men are called to be grave. And in 1 Timothy 2:2, they are called to do things in a means that has gravity. That's gravity. So what does it mean to be grave, to have gravity? What is he trying to get across here? And ultimately, it simply means this. This honorableness, whatever is honorable, refers to that which is appropriate and befitting behavior which implies dignity. Implies dignity. It is to live a life and to think upon things that is absent of buffoonery and sinful frivolousness. It means to avoid living life where everything is a joke to you. It means to take things seriously. Be one who thinks upon things that are dignified and upright and honorable, befitting the mind of a believer. Now, I want you to understand what I mean by this. We are called to think on things that bring dignity and undermine that which brings embarrassment and shame. And by doing so, living in such a way and thinking in such a way that it earns the respect of others. Now, I don't mean that you can't have fun. I don't mean that you can't have a jovial mindset at times. And to be a joker, to have fun, that's okay. I'm very much in line with that. And I don't think that's what this text is saying. But we all know the person, and maybe we are the person, who no matter what the situation is, no matter how grave the situation may be, no matter how dark the situation may be, no matter how just truthful and the necessity of thinking seriously about something it may be, they just turn it into a joke. They play it off as nothing. They're condescending in how they act towards things. What Paul is saying here is simply what he said in 1 Corinthians 13:11. When I was a child, I acted like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put away child. In other words, how we think as mature Christians is not to be reflective of childlike thinking. It is to take matters seriously, matters that are dignified and honorable, that which reflects honor and dignity to that which should be the Christian mind. Not brushing everything off as something to joke about, laugh about. We are called to think upon that which is honorable, that which brings dignity. Thirdly, we are called to think on whatever is just. Now, there is no confusion on what is meant here in this passage. For something to be just means that it lines up with God's standard of what is right and what is wrong. feelings or my experience. Justice is that which solely lines up with God's standard of right and wrong. Anything else is a counterfeit form of justice. So Paul is saying, consider that, reckon upon that, think upon that which reflects your desires and efforts to render man what he is properly due, to be just towards every man in every aspect of life in accordance with what God says is right and what God says is wrong. God makes just requirements upon us, and we are called to consider, to reckon, and to think upon how are we to fulfill these requirements in a manner befitting God's just nature. We live in a time of quote-unquote social justice. Justice. And the more that I see the world, I am reminded of Habakkuk as he sees the Chaldeans being raised up, the wicked generation of the Chaldeans. He sees the nation of Israel undermining everything that they were set to be and made to be. And he says, oh, that justice is going forth perverted. I'm reminded very much of our culture today. We have fundamentally misunderstood what it means to be just. What justice actually represents. You see, God's standard, God's law is the absolute standard of what is just. And the only thing that makes something just is when it corresponds to that which God said is just. Anything apart from that is relative and a falsehood. Justice is not that which satisfies me. Justice is that which satisfies God. We are to think upon that which is just. Are we rendering man everything that they are due according to that which God says we are to render them? Are we treating them with compassion, with love, with kindness, with gentility? And yet are we also reckoning and rendering just punishment in accordance with that which God says is a standard of a just punishment for crime and evil committed? It is a both and reality, not one or the other. You cannot ask and call yourself just by simply holding to that which you believe are good virtues, compassion, gentility, love, and kindness, and at the same time undermine the judicial aspects of God's justice, of rendering evil what evil is due. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot be all justice and then not render man such compassion, gentility, love, and kindness. You can't be one side or the other. That which is just corresponds to both what is right and wrong according to the standard of God. And so think upon these things. Reflect upon that which is just in accordance to what God says is right. Reflect upon those things. Fourthly, we are called to think upon whatever is pure. Whatever is pure. Now, pure simply means that which is absent of any defilement. John uses it in his first epistle, 1 John chapter 3:3. We're called to be pure as he, God, is pure. John writes, every man that has this hope in him purifies himself even as he, God, is pure. God is utterly free from that which defiles. In him is light, and there is no darkness with him at all. And this purity should not simply be limited to moral or sexual purity. That's far greater than that. We do purity a disservice when we simply divorce it to just one of those categories. moral purity or sexual purity. That's all we think about. So deeper. It's an all-encompassing purity that we are to remove and to think and remove anything that might defile us. In every relationship, in every situation, do not let yourself be defiled. And it all begins with the mind. Also. It all begins with the mind. Purity. Purity is what we do with our body and how we act in a way that remains pure. It's simply the outworking of what we already decided to do for what is pure, right, and undefiled. If our mind is conformed and fully reckoned upon and reflecting upon that which is pure, our action will fall right in line with that. The first boundary that you must establish when it comes to that which is pure begins with the boundaries of where you allow this to go. The battlefield begins here. Think upon that which is pure. Fifthly, and the reason that this word here is difficult to describe is because it's used only twice in the entire New Testament. Paul says, whatever is lovely. Whatever is lovely. Now, if we were to give an etymology of sorts to this word, it would mean that which is towards love. That which is towards love. The Greek word is prosphilios. And pros is the Greek preposition towards. Phileo means to love. In other words, that which is towards love is that which promotes love. Think upon things that promote love, that stir the soul to love. I'm reminded of a story. A family was hosting a Christmas gathering. They invited lots of their friends over. They had just moved back in town. They had been away for work for years, and they had come back to their hometown. They were wanting to invite everyone back to their home to just get to see everyone and fellowship. And they had a young daughter. She was around 6. And she was their only daughter, and people came, and the daughter just became the life of the party, as most 4 to 6-year-olds do. Everyone loved the little girl. They were so moved by her, just how sweet she was, loving. And on their way out, all of them commented to the parents, just how lovely your daughter is, how wonderful she is. That night, as the father tucked his daughter into bed, he asked her, he said, why do you think all those people love you so much? He says, well, perhaps, Dad, it's because they know how much I love you. You see, the 4 former things, honesty, honor, justice, purity, those things will always win respect. But only love can win respect. Only love can win respect. Think upon that which drives the soul to love. Faith and hope are blessed, beautiful things. The greatest is love. Think upon that. Sixthly, we are to think on whatever is commendable. That is, that which is of good rapport, that which is praiseworthy, that which is admirable. Now, what is that which is commendable? What is that which is admirable for the Christian? It is an action, it is a pattern of action or thinking that is totally free from sinful compromise. In other words, it says, I will not think upon anything that would cause me to sin or lessen my Christian standard in order to gain rapport among men. But it also means that I would be willing to subject myself to anything short of sinning in order to maintain good rapport with men. And I think what Paul means is this, what he said elsewhere in Scripture, that I became all things to all men in order that I might save some. And what this means is this. There is nothing that we should ever think upon or do that would should cause us to sin or lessen our Christian standards in order to try and make ourselves good with man. Shouldn't try to be explicitly sinful. I'm mindful of Peter standing around the fire, and the little girl comes to him and says, "You're one of them. You belong to those who followed that Jesus." And what did it say Peter had to do? He began to curse. He began to use foul language. Why? Because he said, in order to not be seen like one of them, I have to compromise my standard. Don't think in a way that says, in order to be good with man, in order to have good rapport, I will lessen my standard. I will compromise in sin. That is not to think upon that which is commendable. But it also means this. I am not willing to become so arrogant, become so prideful in my knowledge of God and knowledge of the Scriptures that says that I can't be willing to lay aside secondary and tertiary matters in order to reach others with faith in God. That is what to think upon that. It is to say, I will never compromise in order to have good rapport with a man. But I will never actively seek to undermine my rapport with him, lest I might win some. That I might win some for Christ. That he might use me as a means and an instrument. I do not want to disqualify myself through my prideful arrogance. Everything that is short of sin, we should be willing to say, Lord, if this is the call for you utilize to go and to win these people, where I was in, I will do. We have to think upon that which is commendable. So these are the six specific objects. The six specific objects that we are to reckon and think upon. But now the two general. Paul says, if there be any excellence, if there be anything worthy of praise, think upon these things. You see how he's moved from the specific to the generic. And what he's doing here is not simply saying that these two things sum up the other six. He's saying, if I have missed anything else, if I have left anything out, whatever is excellent, whatever is praiseworthy, think upon it, reckon upon it, consider it continually. Let your mind be filled with all things that are true, all things that are honorable, all things that are just, all things that are pure, lovely, commendable, and anything else that might be excellent and praiseworthy. Think about these things continually, Christian. Look at the comprehensive nature Paul uses. Before every object, he says, whatever, down to the general, anything. Now he could have said, and it would have been grammatically fine, think upon whatever is true, comma, honorable, comma, just, comma. But he doesn't. He repeats the comprehensive statement of whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is pure and lovely, any excellence, anything worthy of praise. And what he is saying here is this. Christians, expand your perspective in reckoning and thinking upon the things of God's creation. and His nature. Expand your perspective. Lift your eyes from the grovel of a dark world. Grow in His grace and open your mind and your eyes to the beautiful world around you. And behold all that is true. Reckon everything that is honorable and excellent and praiseworthy. Begin to think expansively and largely upon the work of God and His goodness and His majesty, and behold it as you think upon all. This is the comprehensiveness of this sermon. To set our mind to reckon upon everything that is excellent and praiseworthy. Beloved, when we wake up in the morning, when we look at the sunrise, when we stand upon Flat Top, when we go to the flowing Russian and Kenai rivers, when we see the beautiful crystal clear water, when we hear the sparrow's song in the morning, when we hear the cry of the newborn, when we see the love that takes place in a wedding, when we watch and look upon all these things, when we look through a telescope and see the magnificence of the universe and the galaxies that exist therein, we should be moved as the psalmist was in Psalm 8 and says, behold, when I think upon all that which you have made, what is man that you would be mindful of us? Behold that which is true and honorable and lovely. Think upon these things. Reckon it. Move your eyes from the pits of this world and see everything that He's doing. And be moved to excellence and praise at the hand of His glory. The beautiful canvas of these things. See it, savor it, and reckon upon it. So what does all of that say to us? You give 2 points of application. What did it say for Philippians the first time they gathered and it was read? And this is what I think it says. First point of application. This summons to godly thinking, condemns any mental preoccupation with evil. This summons to godly thinking, condemns any mental preoccupation with evil. Now, Paul was absolutely conscious of the evil in the world. In Romans 7, he even talks about the evil within himself. He says, even when I do that which is right, evil lies close at hand, which caused him to say, O wretched man that I am, who can save me from this bondage of death? In this very book, he calls the world a crooked and perverse generation. He even calls out evil in the church by identifying the enemies of the cross. So for Paul, he was not oblivious to evil. He was not an ostrich with his head in the sand, or a cheerful Hellenistic philosopher with his head in the clouds. When Paul wrote this, he was not saying that evil doesn't exist, don't pretend like it doesn't exist. What he was saying is this: don't preoccupy yourself with evil. Don't let the evil of this world, the evil that is being pruned from within in you, or even the evil that rises up in the church, be something that clouds out and preoccupies your mind, lest it keep you from constantly thinking upon all that is excellent and praiseworthy. Beloved, the reason many Christians make very little progress in their faith lies right here. They are almost totally preoccupied with the evil of this world that they never grow in the knowledge of grace. You hear it all the time. Oh, we're in the last days. They were saying that in the New Testament. Oh, I wonder who the Antichrist is going to be. Oh, how the world is going to hell in a handbasket. I hear it all the time. Christians spanning the newspaper clips, trying to find which headline you can fit into the prophecies of Daniel or Ezekiel or the revelation of Christ. Looking through every political situation, biting their nails. Beloved, in due time, God is going to bash every evil, every injustice, every perversion on this planet and in the spiritual realm. Therefore, do not let your mind be preoccupied with evil, but think on these things. Whatever is true, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, Tuesday, my God is still on the throne. Stop with the nail biting. You can say what you want about this and that, and I'll say amen. It's a perverse and crooked generation. It's the present evil age. But God says to think upon these things. Let your mind be preoccupied with these things. That is what we must do. And if you are given to a preoccupation with evil and wickedness over against these things, beloved, you are breaking a command of God. Let it not be so. Think upon these things. Secondly, this text forbids any unnecessary exposure to evil. This text forbids any unnecessary exposure to evil. Living with your own heart in a fallen world will constantly expose you to evil. And as you read the Scriptures, they will make even more clear how evil the present age is and how evil even your own heart can be. As long as you live in this present evil age, you will be exposed to evil. But when Paul wrote this text, he means that as Christians, we ought not to purposefully expose our minds to evils that we have the ability to steer clear of. Beloved, we allow individuals and situations to come into our homes through our media devices, through our television, that we would never allow enter the front door. And Christian men, beware the devilish pit of pornography. It will chain you and bind you like a slave, like few other things will. Christian women, beware of the pornographic novels, which may not stimulate your sight, but will drive your mind to evil imaginations. Teenagers, beware the movies and the games you willfully subject your mind to. See it over and over again. Parents, don't keep your house, don't keep your television on propagating endless news cycles. 24/7 perpetual headlines of wickedness and evil that fill the airwaves of your home. You may say, man, I think you're taking this a little far. Beloved, I spend hours in the week. I spend so many meetings with young men who are destroyed because they filled their minds with these things. In the military, young men who are growing up, teenagers, I spend hours with them in constant counseling. I've dealt with marriages being destroyed because of these things. Don't tell me it's not important. Don't tell me it doesn't matter. I see how much it matters. This text forbids the exposure of unnecessary evil in Christian life. This is totally antithetical to Paul's teaching here. We are to think upon these things, things that are excellent, things that are pure, things that are lovely, things that are honorable. And there is no such thing as moral neutrality, beloved. It doesn't exist. The lasting evil that is slowly being sanctified away in our body will always have a fervent polarity, a fervent magnetism to that which is evil. It will always be drawn to that which is evil. The sinful flesh that is being pruned away slowly in the sanctification will always have a magnetism back to the evil, back to the dirty, back to the wrong, back to the perverse. Do not willfully expose yourself to the unnecessary evil, lest you create a stumbling block to yourself. This text forbids it. Therefore, think on these things. Think on these things, not the perverse evil of the spirit. Thirdly, this text demands the positive commitment to the pursuit of Christian virtue. The first job I had in biblical teaching was to be a Bible teacher to juniors and seniors at Grace Christian High School. One of my favorite jobs will always be the place that God opened my heart to his beauty and students and teaching his word. But one of the most common questions I received was, Mr. Hart, what is wrong with, you fill in the blank. What's wrong with, you fill in the blank. Whatever you want to know. point of saying, you've got it backwards. You ought not to not be asking what is wrong with something. Your focus should be what is right about something. And in the text, Paul gives a list of virtues, but say, if these things are absent, if these things are not there, then it doesn't belong in your life. Stop living Christian minimalistic lives. Christ died to give us life and life more abundantly. And what is an abundant life? It's a life that is true, a life that is honorable, a life that is pure, a life that is lovely, a life that is commendable, a life that is just, a life that is excellent, and a life that is praiseworthy. That is the abundant life. Therefore, not only think on these things, but pursue them. Pursue that which is lovely. Pursue that which is pure. Pursue that which is honorable. Pursue that which is just. Don't just think about it. Pursue it with all that you are. That which is excellent. Stop asking what's wrong with it. Start asking what in it reflects truth. What in it reflects honor? What in it reflects justice and purity and commendability and love and excellence and praise? And flee from what is not and pursue everything that is. A positive commitment to the pursuit of Christian virtue. That is what thinking upon these things is. Finally, this text demands a constant exposure to that which reveals true Christian virtue. The question you might ask is, how am I going to know what is true? How can I know what is honorable? How can I know what is lovely? How can I know? Beloved, you know by searching your Bible day in and day out, examining and meditating upon its precepts, upon which it reveals the life and character of our Lord and drive, and seek to be like Him in all of your dealings, to be like the Lord, to study the precepts of Scripture, to meditate upon them daily. That is how you will know what is honorable, what is lovely, what is true, what is pure, what is excellent, what is praiseworthy, what is just. You will know by being in the Word, by constantly exposing yourself to it. It takes a constant, thoughtful exposure to the means in order to fully obtain that which consists in the whatever before you of these objects. And this doesn't just come to us. You don't get to just, I now know what lovely is. I now know what purity is. It doesn't just work that way. This text that says if we are to grow in the knowledge of grace, we must work this out as God works within. We are to expose ourselves to the Word and grow in our knowledge of that which is excellent and praiseworthy. And in conclusion, the wise Christian will bring their Christianity into every detail of their life. The wise Christian will bring their Christianity into every detail of their life. Such a Christian will not see the virtue of godliness as a buffet to be picked from. But in the language of David, they will say, I will esteem all that which is right and hate every false way. Beloved, I call you today, Christian thinkers, to think upon that which is true. Whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, anything worthy of praise today, think about these things. Let's pray. Father God, as we now move into the time of partaking of the Lord's Supper, I ask that you would open our hearts that we might examine ourselves and see that which we have preoccupied ourselves. Have we preoccupied ourselves with the things of which we read today? That which is true and pure and honorable and just and lovely and commendable and excellent and praiseworthy. Have we set our mind upon those things? Or have we been preoccupied with far too many things? God, prune that away from us today as we examine our hearts by remembering that your precious Son did on our behalf. You give us life, and life more abundant. Father, thank you, praise you. Say all these things in the name of Jesus. As the ushers come forward,